5 things I wish I knew before I started being a resource room teacher. So welcome to A Day's Discoveries. I'm so glad you're here. I want to talk today about what I wish I knew before I started becoming a resource room teacher. I was an elementary school teacher for 9 years. I actually started teaching 20 years ago and took some time off to have my own family, and am back in the classroom this year after a 10-year break and as a resource room teacher. So I have learned so much this year. It has been a very challenging year. It's 2022, so lots of challenges to be in the classroom, but 5 things I wish I knew jumping into the resource room. And I will say I am a special ed mama. I have a kiddo on an IEP, so I know what it's like from the parent side. But I've only had limited experience from a special ed teacher side. So the first thing is the paperwork. You know there's going to be a lot of paperwork going in, and I just was surprised how long it took to get through the annual IEPs. You have to record, at least I do, record meeting notes for any meetings that you have, for any of those types of things. There's a lot of paperwork, a lot of stuff to keep organized. So you want to make sure that you have a system in place to help you be organized, and especially keep track of those deadlines and dates, because when the annual IEP is due or the evaluation is due, those things have to be done on time. So that's the first thing, is lots of paperwork. Second thing is you have tons of meetings. So I anticipated that there would be a meeting for each kid as you get to the IEP time every year. I did not know that there would be quite so many meetings for behavior plans, for just professional activity meetings, talking to parents, all those kinds of things. So be prepared for a lot of meetings. I will say, as an elementary school teacher, I'm ashamed to admit this now, but I used to dread the after school meetings and be kind of frustrated when I would have an IEP meeting after school, as I was tired after teaching all day. And that was like a couple, depending on how many kids I had in my class. As a resource room teacher, I cannot tell you, and I'm only part-time, but I cannot tell you the amount of mornings and afternoons and even middle of the day meetings I've had. So be prepared for a lot of meetings and a lot of contact time with your team. The third thing that I wish I knew is that you are dealing with families who most of the time are really wanting to be involved, really concerned for their kids. And I know what it's like as a parent to dread those annual meetings, and I know how challenging that can be. So I have a slightly different perspective, but just know everybody's trying to do the best they can. Try to encourage those families, give them a lot of positive things about their kids. Even the most challenging student, there are so many positive things about them. So I know sometimes it feels like we're just focusing on the areas of concern as we're writing those goals, but just try to hype those kids up and give those parents a lot of encouragement, because it's always hard when they're talking about your precious little babies and how they need to be growing and have some other goals. So a lot of interactions with parents, and especially parents who are worried or upset or nervous or whatever emotions they happen to be going through. So that's something else to be aware of. The fourth thing that was surprising to me is the amount of acronyms. So I kind of had an idea. Again, my son has been in an IEP since long before kindergarten. So I had an idea of some things like your IEP and your IEP plan, your teams, and all of the SLP and the OT and the PT and all of those things. I did not know all the acronyms that are there. So be prepared, do a little research, find out what an FBA is, find out what a BIP is, find out what some different things in the IEP are. So do your research and know those acronyms, because I don't know how many times I have had blank stares when somebody will say an acronym to me and I don't know what exactly they're talking about. So lots of meetings, lots of paperwork. Be gentle and careful with parents, and you have lots of acronyms. Okay, the last one is kind of funny, but in my experience, the IEP team is kind of like a grown-up group project. So when I was in school, I was not one to procrastinate. I would know I had something coming up. I would start it, work on it a little bit each day. I wouldn't put it off. And when you're dealing with a group of people, the psychologist, the speech therapist, the occupational therapist, the parents if you're wanting their input, the teacher if you're needing their input, you kind of have to go on a different timeline. It's not you know that there's an end point. Things have to be done by the annual IEP date. However, different people getting you their different pieces of information, you kind of have to be super flexible. And it is truly like a grown-up group project. So just keep that in mind. You're working with a team of people who are all incredibly busy doing the best that they can. But it was surprising to me. I definitely had to work on my flexibility. So anyway, hope that's helpful if you're just starting out. Be sure to tune back in. I'll be talking about what it's like from a parent's perspective, having a kiddo on an IEP. And thanks for tuning into today's Discoveries.